You're fine.
I gotta understand.
Hey, we're live. Okay, we're live. It is, what is it, Tuesday,
Tuesday, May
May
13th.
13th, at about 10 after 12. This is the House Republican Caucus. So grab my thing from leadership, House leadership. Yeah, Bob related. Okay, same floor time as before, 10, 1, 1 and 9:30, except on Friday, we will be 9:30, but there's a possibility that we would recess to the afternoon, depending on what's happening in the Senate to receive things over from the Senate. So plan on staying, if you don't normally stay after lunch, your committee doesn't meet, plan on, we may be coming back at 1:30 or 2 o'clock just to get information from the Senate. Did we do S-125? Okay, the amendment, so that's, we already did all of that. There's materials here for the budgets, and they're going to have, it was announced by the speaker, they're going to have office hours, and I didn't hear where these office hours were going to take place.
So they're gonna be as well as the house. We're gonna pay, I believe, after, the floor session tomorrow.
After floor tomorrow, if you want a discussion on these, stay in the house tomorrow. I forgot about that. And joint rules will be meeting at some point. Haven't heard exact times yet, but we're going to be meeting to discuss remote participation by joint committees during the summer, like we normally do, like we do here in the House. They continue that through the summer, but we have to have a resolution to that effect. So joint rules, I think I'm the only one that serves on that for the House Republicans. So that was pretty much it.
That was it.
Okay. So does anybody have any questions on anything? I know that the budgets, as I said, the budget was passed out Friday afternoon by the Committee of Conference unanimously. House Transportation passed out their Committee of Conference report unanimously Friday afternoon as well. And on Thursday, Corrections and Institutions passed out their Committee of Conference report. I believe that was unanimous as well. The Senate is poised to, I heard they may call up the budget. I don't know if they did call it up pending notice.
They have to.
They did? Okay. And they may postpone
Yeah.
the Committee of Conference on the Corrections and Institutions till tomorrow. And they would deal with transportation and corrections and institutions tomorrow. That just gives you a sense of the timing for us. Those will come over, like corrections institution notices Thursday. If they're taking up the budget today, it would be on notice for us tomorrow. I haven't heard whether we would call it up off notice to deal with it or at this point. So just so you have a sense of going forward, those are the three big bills that will need to absolutely pass before we get out of Dodge. So the one big bill still hanging out there is the education piece. I'm told that they're hopeful that Senate Finance will be done with the ed bill on Thursday, but then it has to go to Senate Appropriations. So look towards maybe midweek, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week before that ed bill hits the floor in the Senate.
I think it's just one day.
It's one day.
One day in appropriations, what I heard.
One day. Okay, so if they pass it out Thursday.
And then it'll be on Friday. It'll be an approach Friday. So expect it to be on Wednesday.
Unless they they call it up. And they know. Just so you're aware of the sense of, are we here 2 weeks? Are we here 3 weeks? Because dollars for donuts, that's going to a committee conference.
You think?
Patty,
Yes. Yes, Marty.
I'd also say another important bill, I hope we get a chance to finish up, is the housing bill.
Oh, yes,
Currently, that's 127.
yes, yes. And that is, where is that now?
It's in Ways and Means, and we were gonna vote on it today, and it was gonna go to the calendar, but we didn't.
Are you going back this afternoon?
We don't know.
Yeah, but it's not on the agenda.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so,
Also, if you're wanting to review the whole budget, it was in today's Senate calendar, the whole budget.
yep. And it's posted, I think I sent you the link to that. It's also posted on the webpage. Anyone else have any other bills that are still hanging in their committee? We have, I don't want to, House Transportation is still dealing with the DMV bill, which came over from the Senate. So we are still looking at that. We have not passed that out of our committee yet. And I'm not quite sure what the plan is. If it's, I think we have testimony all this week on it, so I don't see it coming out of our committee this week. So stay tuned. There are years we don't have a DMV bill, so. Not sure if this is one of those, though. That's all I know on that. Anyone have any other, I don't see anything unnoticed for tomorrow, so not quite sure what's going on for tomorrow for the floor. Does anybody have any other bills that they know they're working on that are going to get out of their committee and will make it to the finish line this year? Jim?
Just want to mention S-126, which is the healthcare bill. It's currently not on our agenda until Thursday morning for a walkthrough and possible vote. We also have a S-109, which looks like we're scheduled to maybe vote on, which is miscellaneous judiciary procedures.
Okay, Lisa?
S-59 changes to the open meeting law. We're wrapping that up this week. We should get it out by Friday, so it will be going out for next week and for. And S-23 synthetic media in elections. We could also be voting that out later this week.
Do any of these bills that are hanging still have appropriations attached to them? If people are working on bills in their house? So my understanding, Jim, is that there's money fenced off in this budget for bills that you
The
think.
money itself will be in the healthcare bill, and that will live or die on its own.
Oh, so the money in the healthcare bill only?
No, there's several bills. The education bill in the Senate, there was $4 million for the whole transformation process and work and stuff. And that money, Senate appropriation will put into H-454, as opposed to in the House, we had carried that money in the budget.
Right.
So
Excuse me, Jim.
we've allowed it for it, but it's going to be there. I'm sorry.
Representative Harrison, I just wanted to point out the back of the highlight sheet is a list of bills that, well, that you can stop.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.
I knew that, but I.
So I know.
Okay. Okay, Brenda.
I'm not sure if this is gonna come out, but we're working on human services H.30 and act relating to the use of seclusion and restraint on children and youth in custody of the Department for Children and Families, and I do not believe there would be anything in it
great.
Okay. Woody and then Ann.
I'm just gonna add to what Jim had, excuse me, what Representative Harris stated for F 126, that's a healthcare reform bill. It's to transform our healthcare system, acting reference-based budgeting, what's so. They're saying $3.5 million is spent.
How much is there?
3.5 million instead of 5%. That would.
Okay. Ann,
Well, first of all, quick clarification, to augment what Brenda said. That's a bill we're looking at for potentially taking up next year.
Oh,
We haven't even taken it up.
Okay.
We haven't taken it up.
Okay,
But the thing I wanted to point out also in terms of outstanding bills, we don't have, H91, the, hotel program bill back from the Senate. And that has $10 million that's not part of the budget that's in front of us, that would also be added separately with that bill.
okay. All right, is that parked in here somewhere or not?
It's a lot, it's a lot allocated on the back, you'll see the bills. That money.
So that is
at the
not,
house is in that bill.
It's in the bill, not in the budget.
not in the budget.
If that bill, for example, that I'm hearing that it might get reduced, that money. But in either case, if the bill doesn't make it, that money just gets carried forward to next year. If it does make it, whatever that amount is, up to 10 million is fenced off in the budget that we didn't spend.
Okay. Okay. Did I see a hand over here? No. Does anybody else have any other bills that they want to talk about here? No. We're good. House Ways and Means is good. Sure. All right. So I have nothing. So, you haven't, yeah, you want to do the budget here? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to give a quick overview. We passed around handout that's kind of like the highlights of the budget process. And then there are two larger sheets. One is the changes in base spending. And base spending is important because that's what you assume when you're building next year's budget as a state. And then the other one is one-time appropriation. And these sheets do have what the governor recommended in his budget, what the House had passed earlier this session, and then what the Senate passed, and then where the conference committee ended up. And I would just like to point out a couple things. If you look at the base spending, and look on the back page, you look at the total base appropriations, and we're talking general fund. We're not talking, when you talk 9.1 billion, you're talking education fund, transportation fund, special funds. But if you look at just general fund, the governor had recommended 2.429 billion. The House came in a little higher at 2.454 billion, which is 24 million, over what the governor had recommended. The Senate increased that even further, to go to 25 million above the House. And then where we ended up in conference was actually a little bit less than what the House had passed earlier. We ended up at 2.448. So I, first of all, want to thank my colleagues on the conference committee, especially on the House side. We work together. As some of you might know, I'm sometimes hard to get to a yes. I'm spending a lot of money, but we did get there. And there was a lot of give and take. So I very much appreciate it. If you have specific questions that I can't answer, we have some, now we have 4 experts. They only asked for 1, but they don't trust me, so they sent 4. Right. Fiscal office is Grady, Nolan, Amy, and Maria. So they, they're with us throughout this process, and they are the experts on a lot of this stuff. So as was mentioned earlier, the budget itself is posted as an addendum to the Senate calendar. The number, really, these 2 sheets tell you most of what you need to know on the numbers. Now we got a 5th one. Wow. I'm getting that inferiority complex here. Our deputy director of the Joint Fiscal Office, and she just loved spreadsheets. I mean, she dreams about these at nights, and in the morning we get 10 more. So a lot of this is her handiwork. Grady, on the other hand, loves writing. So he's responsible for the 158 pages or whatever that bill is to actually put it in language. But all good. Sure, there are things in here that I wouldn't put in, things you individually wouldn't put in. There's things that you will like in here. And I think at the end of the day, a lot of fair compromises were made. So as Patty mentioned, we are going to hold some office hours where you can come and talk. You can reach out to your budget buddy. You can reach out to other members of House Appropriations. John, I don't see Lynn here, but and Wayne and or myself or any other committee member, I mean, they will get you answers. So it really was a team effort in the end. I just point out a couple things on the highlight sheet. A lot of the increases that we did, quite frankly, were increases to a lot of our designated agencies, which were not in the governor's budget. They didn't oppose any of them, but it's real money. When you start giving, a 2% increase to your mental health providers, which is the least we could have done. And everybody, when state employees are getting raises, it's hard to say, no, you mental health workers, you can't get a raise. So I think that's a big part of it. There was increases for the federally qualified health centers, which again are important. A lot of them are very, very fragile, and we're trying to do what we can to at least keep up with some inflationary pressures. The same way with home-based services, there were increases. Another big thing that sometimes it's not new spending, but it is new to the general fund. There was just over $20 million that of the state police budget that has always been charged, for a long time, been charged to the transportation fund. That came out of the transportation fund. So automatically that was an increase to the general fund. So when we look at increases in the general fund, you got to sort of peel back that onion because it's not increased spending per se. It's just shifting it back to the general fund. And that is totally necessary given the fact of where the transportation fund is. So there was other things, when you talk about public safety, we restored $650,000 that had originally been cut from the sheriff's budget to allow for the funding of the transport deputy positions. Same way with state's attorneys, they were basically $650,000 put back into the budget that had been recommended to be cut because there was a fear that actually would have cut back on some of our state's attorneys, and that would not have been good trying to prosecute positions. There was 2 new positions added at the Human Rights Commission. We added a canine trainer at the Criminal Justice Council, so we can do it year round, just instead of this part here. We added a base spending of $450,000 to help support the urban search and rescue team, which is a high priority of many safety. And then the last thing I'll mention, and then again, happy to answer any questions if you want, is we are operating under a very unknown situation in terms of what's going to happen, not only with the economic forecast come July. It may not be as rosy as it was last January. And what does that mean for the state budget? And secondly, we don't know what's going to happen in Washington in terms of federal support. You make a little tweak to the Medicaid program, and that's huge dollars for Vermont. Vermont, I think gets about $1.5 billion just on Medicaid alone. And to my friend, paraphrase my friend from Newport, that is a very, very big deal in terms of changes in that area. So we can't fix all that. However, we are expecting a surplus this fiscal year, and we have sort of
Already
plenty of-
spent it?
I'm sorry?
Already spent it?
No, we've sort of put it aside, not only for federal fund shortfall, but also going forward, of what can be done, you know, whether there's a revenue downgrade, whether we need, property tax help next year. There's a number of different areas. We don't know what those numbers will be until, you know, after June 30th, but, it would have been easy to spend it. There's certainly a lot of requests and ads. We did. And the budget did keep that 77 million as it was passed by the House for property tax relief this year, which is in that yield bill. And we transferred that to the ed fund. And then we also kept money aside to hopefully allow us to enact those targeted tax reductions that the House passed last week. So all in all, you know, I was happy to sign on, and again, happy to answer questions if you have today, or I got a team of 5 here. There's not a question you can raise that one of these people won't know the answer. So I'll leave it at that.
I know it's difficult because no one has had a chance to take a look at this yet, but they will be available after the floor tomorrow. So,
I think Topper had it.
Topper.
Yeah, I just have a question.
Yes, the 2.8 million's in there.
I know what it is. Thank you. That's not what it. In the very beginning, you quickly went over 126. It says it's standing on its own.
Yeah. So, there was a couple bills that happened, but 126 was one of them. The Senate had put money in the budget for that. But the Senate version of 126 and what we believed was coming out of the House, your committee, were going to be a little bit different. And House conferees were sort of like, how do we put any money in the budget? I think you had money coming out of the technology fund, Vital, and they had it out of general fund. So we collectively decided, rather than trying to put numbers in here, we will fence off money, but not actually put it in the budget. So that's going to be up to the 2 healthcare committees to figure out in conference, assuming it goes to conference, as to where those numbers lie. If you go over that, well, then that's a different issue. But at least that was fenced off. Does that help?
Yep.
We had made that decision early on with H91 when it was going through the House to keep the money in the bill.
So the spending authority is there.
Right.
So
Right, it will be in the, if the bill is enacted, it will come. Again, as long as you don't spend more than we had sort of fenced off. And there was, what was the other bill? Oh, the education.
Yes.
The education bill, and when the House passed it, we had $4 million of one-time spending for that transformation consultant, people, whatever, we don't know what they're actually going to need. There's some speculation they may not need as much. Others have said more. We took it out, the Senate will be taking it out of. No, I'm sorry, they're going to put it back in the bill. They took it out of the budget.
Jed,
Thank you, I may have missed this, the cipher, but S51, the ones and
Yeah,
they remain.
they remain, we did not spend that 13.5 million that was allocated for tax reductions. So if S51 in conference goes higher than that, then that potentially is a problem. But right now, it's not. And I say potentially a problem. There is, Emily, you can help me. There is a little bit on the bottom line.
There's a little bit on the bottom line, and the sort of construct assumes that there'll be up to $13.5 million in tax credits, reducing available revenue.
I think that's on the back page on the bottom, Jed, under other. There's a set aside of 13.5 million. That's S51,
So
according to Representative.
yeah, the other thing I'll mention, because we said our, we're looking, part of the budget next year, and this was in the governor's recommend as well. It says here 27.8 million for anticipation of pay. We have a 2-year contract. Rather than trying to spread it all out in year 2, there's a sort of a set amount that we know is going to get divided up to pay for those increases that were collectively bargained last year. Next year, there'll be a new pay for the next 2 years, but this is the second year of that allocation. So
Did you hear where I said that, Jed, on the bottom of the back page, that 13.5 set aside is S51 or S51,
Thank you very much.
New England Lager of the Year.
Patty, let's give him a round of applause.
You can turn Nelson's mic off.
So I'm sure you can visit with any of our appropriation members throughout today and tomorrow if you think of a question or whatever, but they will be available tomorrow after the floor for anyone who wants to sit down and chat with any of them. John Kosenska, Wayne LaRush, Lynn Dickinson, is she here? No, I don't see her.
I can see her today. She may need help.
Okay, and Jim Harrison. Any other questions?